So as we discussed with contracts, we mentioned that smart contracts may not be the solution for every legal problem.
Definitely.
So why is that? Because I think people think it's smart. It should just evolve and it'll be okay. But that's probably not the case. So why is that?
Well, so like you mentioned, smart contracts have been around the concept has been around since the 90s, and yet the vast majority of people don't know what it means and have never actually used one before, because in reality, smart contract is really hard. Basically, smart contracts are typically a binary solution. If this, then this.
Yeah.
It's very much like computer programming. And it would be a legal situation where if I tick off all these boxes, then you're automatically going to remit the funds or transfer the deed or whatever it is that's the outcome of that contract. But if it's not a situation where you can just tick off those boxes and have if this, then this type of solutions, which most legal situations are not like that, which we know, then a smart contract is very, very difficult to include. I think maybe as AI becomes better and machine learning gets better, then maybe it will be able to get on the periphery and deal with those gray areas a little bit better. But until then, smart contracts are going to be relegated to very simple, very rote types of if this, then this type contracts.
Interesting. So I think there's two things that are really interesting about that. One is the idea that a smart contract is kind of like an oxymoron.
Yeah.
And the fact that it's actually not that smart, to be frank. But
it's like an honest lawyer. I'm just kidding.
But secondly, I think the point about that, the application of smart contracts would probably be very applicable to kind of the routine and mundane.
Potentially, yeah. Well, not to say not important, but just to say where outcomes are extremely clear.
Yeah.
Right. So if you and I are buying, let's say I'm buying a building from you, and you're in Seoul, and I'm here in Hong Kong. There's a lot of variables in that, right? So I have to do my due diligence to look at past history. I have to understand potential litigation. I have to look at the foundation. I have to look at utilities. I've looked at mortgages, all these other things, right? And so typically when you enter into a contract that's complex like that, it will have conditions precedent and all these things.
So really quick, Dave, so we understand what that means for lawyers, but what's a condition precedent?
What is a condition precedent? So it means it is a condition that precedes the closing. So we enter into a contract, we sign it, but I'm not going to give you the money yet, and you're not going to give me the deed yet. Instead, we have to go down a list and kind of confirm every single thing has been done, right? So I'm going to I usually get a few months. I'll look, okay, is the foundation solid? Yes. Do my engineers like it? Yes. We search litigation. Is there any litigation history? No. Right? So then after you tick off all those boxes, then you agree to finally give them the funds, and then you transfer the deed to me. So it's simple, but it's obviously very complicated because life is complicated.
So I think it's interesting that you're talking about the idea of the complexity of life, because I think what we're talking about really is anytime there is some major qualitative assessment that's necessary, then it's going to be very difficult for a smart contract to really be applied to that. It's where those variables are really minimal or non-existent, where it's very vanilla about, okay, this is what needs to be done, this is what you need to do, and those responses are very clearly defined that we can rely on smart contracts.
And here's the interesting thing that a lot of people don't think about when they think of contracting. You legally have the right to breach, right? So when you enter into a contract, now there's ethics issues in there, and obviously you want people to fulfill their agreement, but you always have the right to back away, right? Now there's legal ramifications for that. If you stop paying your mortgage, they can take your house.
You could pay a fine.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, pay a fine, whatever. But the point is, if there's some underlying condition where I need to stop paying my mortgage, I have the right to do that. Within a smart contract, you don't have that option, generally speaking, because it is, again, literally...
upon the conditions being fulfilled, it's self-executing.
It executes automatically, right? So when they say smart, what they mean is it does not require human intervention to execute and fulfill the terms of that agreement, right? But it's like a roller coaster. Once you're going down the hill, there's no pulling back. You're kind of stuck with that ride.
So there's a level of commitment that's required if you go down this route. And so,
which is why I don't think you're going to see anytime soon any type of complex transaction where people are using smart contracts. Everybody wants to be able to get to the end of the line in that, the roller coaster analogy. They want at the very last moment, they want to say, you know what, I don't want to get on this ride. Even if that means I have to pay a fine, even if that means I have to pay a breach fee or something, I need to get off this ride. And I think for a lot of companies and a lot of transactions, they need that.
And I think you're right. And I think for complex type of transactions, you're right. I don't think that will, the use of smart contracts will necessarily will proliferate in the near term at least. But I do think there's a wide variety of daily contracting that just we normally do that could be really applicable perhaps to this. I mean, probably the most complex version of that would be just a home purchase, to be honest. And if you got the right documentation done up front, then you could potentially find a very efficient smart contract to kind of deal with escrow and things like this. So, but I think it's an interesting thing that a lot of people, both lawyers and technologists, will continue to explore, and a really important part of kind of this fintech ecosystem that people are trying to create.
Yeah, and I think the IoT, right, the Internet of Things, with wearables and things. I could see, for example, say a health insurance policy where there's a smart contract, tied to that, where if you exercise a certain number of days or if you do certain things, then your policy comes down. Yeah, exactly. If you drive, so they're already doing this with cars, right? So they'll put a device to kind of measure your speed and everything on your car. As long as you're a safe driver, then your insurance premium comes down. A lot of those aren't officially smart contracts yet, but you can see
the method.
Totally.
Right, that's right.
You get the big data analytics, you get the AI machine learning on the back end of that. It makes it very easy for that to be executable, like 1,000, because it's like 1,000 little contracts basically.
So the lesson I take from that before we move on is if and when that happens and wearables are reporting to my health insurance provider, and that'll impact my health insurance premiums, then I'll purchase a dog, and we're gonna put it on the dog. Put the wearable on the dog and let the dog run around.
People are actually doing that already,
That's right.
So there you go.
So just kidding, that was a joke. This is the ethics side of it. That was a joke. We also have humor in our module as well. Thanks.